Why do hardworking employees get ignored? Why do politics decide your worth? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Bad Influencer. Hit subscribe.
In theory, human resources serves a clear objective. The department is tasked with protecting fairness, maintaining organizational policies, and ensuring the company operates within defined ethical boundaries. Employees generally view HR through a specific lens. They expect the department to act as an impartial advocate for the people who manage the daily operations and execute the company's core work. This expectation of neutrality is the basis for a functional workplace. If employees lose confidence in HR's impartiality, the internal systems of justice and organizational stability begin to weaken. However, a structural conflict exists. HR departments are funded and directed by senior management, primarily to shield the organization from legal and financial risks. This creates an inherent tension known as the dual mandate. HR must execute executive directives and protect the company's interests, while simultaneously advocating for the needs of the employees. This balance shifts when employees sense that senior management is exerting direct influence over HR's daily operations. The pivot tilts, favoring executive priorities at the expense of fair process. This shift creates a corporate shadow, a state where the mechanisms of the company become opaque because the protection of leadership has overridden established procedures. Within this shadow, employees stop viewing HR as a neutral resource. The department begins to look like a simple administrative arm of the executive suite. When staff believe HR is no longer independent, organizational integrity suffers. The perception of bias creates a barrier between the workforce and the leadership, regardless of the actual intent behind specific decisions. This breakdown of trust usually happens through small, opaque moments rather than a single event. It is a gradual realization that the stated rules may not apply to everyone equally. For example, an employee with consistently high ratings might suddenly receive an unexpectedly harsh performance review that lacks specific, documented evidence of a decline in work. These sudden shifts often align with the personal preferences of a senior executive, rather than the objective metrics used for other staff members. Employees also notice when disciplinary actions are applied inconsistently. Minor infractions might be strictly enforced for some, while similar behavior from management favorites goes unaddressed. This leads to the perception of predetermined investigations. If an employee files a report, they may feel the outcome was already decided by leadership before HR even began the inquiry. Transparency also fails in the promotion pipeline. When clear qualifications are ignored in favor of those with close ties to executives, the path to advancement appears closed to the rest of the workforce. These everyday scenarios transform HR from a collaborative department into an enforcer of hidden executive agendas. This specific environment produces a chilling effect. When workers believe the system is rigged toward management, they actively choose silence over reporting legitimate concerns or ethical violations. This silence is driven by a need for self-preservation. If the reporting process is viewed as compromised, employees will prioritize their own job security over company loyalty. The resulting business costs are significant. Motivation sharply drops, collaboration between teams stalls, and the company eventually loses the specialized talent it spent years recruiting. Ignoring this trust gap does not protect the company's bottom line. Instead, it erodes the collective skills and commitment that allow the business to remain functional and competitive. Restoring trust requires the establishment of strict procedural integrity. While HR will always work with management, the department must have clear, enforceable boundaries. The first step is absolute transparency. The criteria for performance reviews, promotions, and disciplinary actions must be documented and accessible to everyone in the organization. Organizations should also implement secure, third-party anonymous reporting channels that are managed outside of the internal corporate network. These external channels provide a necessary layer of protection, allowing whistleblowers to report issues without fear of direct identification or executive retaliation. Finally, HR must be empowered to conduct investigations without oversight from the executives involved. This visual representation of a clear boundary demonstrates how transparency and functional independence work together. Strict procedural integrity is the only way to prove to employees that the company values fair process more than executive convenience. When an organization successfully implements these protections, measurable shifts in the workforce begin to occur. As the fear of retaliation subsides, metrics on retention and internal collaboration typically show steady improvement. Building lasting trust requires ethical leadership and the universal application of company policies, ensuring that every level of staff is held to the same standard. An independent human resources function provides the consistency an organization needs to retain its staff and ensure its long-term success.